Number 1. Crocodile, dung birth control. Ah, yes, nothing says safe and effective like stuffing animal feces inside your body. Welcome to ancient Egypt, where contraceptive methods included a DIY paste made from honey acacia leaves and crocodile poop. Women would shape this concoction into a pessary and well insert it like some nightmarish organic tampon. Now, before you write this off as ancient nonsense, here's the part where science sheepishly raises its hand. Acacia actually ferments into lactic acid, which can kill sperm. Combine that with the honey's natural antibacterial properties, and you're shockingly close to a rudimentary spermicide. Crocodile dung, though. That's where things go a bit Jurassic Park. There's no hard proof it helped, but hey, it sure scared off unwanted suitors. So yeah, it was kinda effective, kinda terrifying, and 100% do not try this at home. Basically, ancient gynecology was part chemistry lab, part petting zoo. Number 2. Skull holes for headaches. Picture this. You have a migraine that feels like a rock concert inside your skull, and instead of reaching for ibuprofen, someone says, "Let's drill a hole in your head." This wasn't some medieval horror show. It was common in Neolithic times. The procedure, trepanation. The logic, letting the evil spirits or bad air escape. Now here's the wild twist, it actually helped. Sometimes. For certain head traumas, like pressure buildup from swelling or internal bleeding making a hole, can relieve pressure. Modern neurosurgery still uses a version of this called a craniotomy, but with anesthesia sterilization and not, rocks. The kicker archaeologists have found skulls with trepanation holes that healed, meaning people survived the procedure. That's right. Our ancestors survived someone carving open their heads without antibiotics or electricity. Your move, modern medicine. Number 3. Moldy bread bandages. In ancient Egypt and Greece, if you had a wound, you didn't reach for Neosporin. You slapped on a crusty slice of moldy bread. Sounds like a frat house dare. But the idea had legs. Turns out some molds naturally produce antibiotics. Yep, just like the moldy petri dish that gave us penicillin thousands of years later. This makes ancient medics the accidental founders of antibiotic therapy, only with way worse packaging. No sterile tubes, no dosage guidelines, just slap some fungus on it and hope for the best. Still, it often worked, especially if the alternative was dying. The logic was fuzzy, but the results weren't. Moldy bread, the only time a stale sandwich could save your leg? Number 4. Liver as a mood ring. Babylonians didn't just eat animals, they stared at their livers like cosmic tea leaves. They believed a sheep's liver could predict the future cure diseases and explain what was going on in your insides. Essentially, it was the world's first diagnostic tool minus any actual understanding of biology. Here's where things accidentally make sense. The liver is a surprisingly good indicator of systemic issues. Yellow. That's jaundice. Swollen. Could be infection. So when ancient doctors used animal livers to symbolically read the patient's fate, they weren't entirely off base. It's like licking a battery to test the voltage, not recommended, but weirdly informative. So yes, they were literally guessing your health based on livestock guts. But hey, in a world without blood tests, you work with what you've got, even if it's a sheep liver on a rock. Number 5. Urine taste test. You know you've hit rock bottom when your doctor asks you to pee in a cup and then takes a sip. Welcome to medieval diabetes diagnosis, where physicians would literally taste your urine to detect sweetness. If it tasted like honey, congrats, you probably had diabetes mellitus Latin for honey sweet siphon. It wasn't exactly FDA approved, but it worked. Sugar in the urine is a real indicator of uncontrolled blood glucose levels, and since they didn't have glucose meters back in the day, doctors had to go full sommelier on your bodily fluids. Some even described the bouquet of diabetic pee like they were writing for a medieval wine blog. Yes, it was gross. Yes, it was weirdly effective. And yes, somewhere out there, a medieval doctor was probably bragging about being a pee whisperer. Number 6. Bee venom therapy. Imagine willingly letting angry flying syringes inject venom into your body because you think it'll help your arthritis. Ancient Egyptians, Chinese physicians, and even Hippocrates himself all used bee stings as a form of treatment. And they weren't just winging it. Bee venom contains melittin, a compound with anti-inflammatory effects. Modern studies, yes, actual ones, have shown that melittin can reduce pain and inflammation, especially for autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. So yes, the ancients were onto something right before their joints flared up again, and they got stung a second time. The whole idea of pain to fix pain feels like something invented by a sadistic gym coach, but turns out it was early immunotherapy. That buzzed. Number 7. Snake oil. That wasn't a scam. You've heard the phrase snake oil salesman, which today means total fraud. But the original snake oil, surprisingly legit. Chinese laborers in the 1800s used oil extracted from Chinese water snakes to treat joint pain. This oil was rich in omega-3 fatty acids, natural anti-inflammatories that actually worked. The scam came later when American hucksters bottled up random goop slapped on a snake oil label and toured the country selling lies. But the real snake oil science backs it. It's like finding out the tooth fairy also handles dental insurance. So next time someone calls something snake oil, feel free to smugly explain that it depends on which snake. Number 8. Boiling oil for hemorrhoids. Got a hemorrhoid problem? No worries, just let some medieval doctor pour boiling oil into your rectum. That's not a punchline, that's real history. In medieval Europe, hemorrhoids, aka the devil's grapes, were treated with terrifying levels of aggression. Hot metal pokers, boiling oil, or sometimes just straight-up cauterization. Now here's the creepy part. Cauterization can stop bleeding. It destroys the tissue and the blood vessels, which sounds barbaric. But in emergencies, it works. The pain, oh, unimaginable. The recovery, probably a lifetime of trauma. But in the absence of preparation, and sitz baths, people went full barbecue mode on their butts. So yes, medieval medicine had a motto: if it bleeds, burn it. Delightful. Number 9. Corpse powder cures. Nothing like a dash of dead guy in your daily wellness routine. In Renaissance Europe, rich people, yes, the fancy ones, took mummy powder, literally ground up human remains to treat everything from headaches to internal bleeding. The logic, if the body still had life force eating, it could transfer that energy to you. You know, like a human smoothie. Ironically, this wasn't some fringe cult thing. Royalty and physicians swore by it. King Charles II even had a personal brew made from human skulls called the King's Drops. So the next time someone brags about their all-natural detox regimen, just remember powdered corpses were once considered peak health food. Creepy, yes. Effective, maybe. Human bone contains calcium and phosphates, and some mummies were preserved in resin and tar with antimicrobial properties. But let's be honest, you probably shouldn't have to brush a skull before breakfast. Number 10. Boar bile and eye infections. You wake up with crusty, goopy eyes. You need medicine. Ancient Anglo-Saxon doctors had you covered with a recipe that included garlic onion wine and bile from a cow or boar. Mix it, let it sit in a brass container for 9 days, and voila, a disgusting but surprisingly effective salve for styes and eye infections. Here's the kicker: scientists actually recreated this ancient recipe and tested it in labs. It worked. The combination killed MRSA, one of the nastiest antibiotic-resistant bacteria out there. The ingredients on their own meh, but together, microbial doom. So yes, boar bile and fermented onion juice might be gross, but they also might be the ancient prototype for an anti-superbug serum. Your ancestors were basically gross little geniuses. Number 11. Electric fish therapy. Back before TENS units and muscle stimulators, ancient Greeks had electric eels. Well, technically electric rays, but you get the idea. If you had gout migraines or persistent pain, you'd be advised to stick your foot or sometimes your entire body in a bucket with one of these aquatic stun guns. And weirdly, it sometimes helped. Mild electrical stimulation can block pain signals and reduce inflammation. It's called gate control theory now, but back then it was just let the fish zap your problems away. Basically, it was electrotherapy, but with more risk of being electrocuted in your own bathtub. Number 12. Hot iron toothaches. Toothache. No problem. Just heat up an iron rod and stab it into your gums. That's what medieval dentists did. Because nothing says oral health like the smell of sizzling nerve endings. Bonus points if you scream loud enough to scare off the other patients. While it sounds sadistic, the extreme heat did kill off infected tissue and cauterize nerves, which would reduce pain after causing a lot more pain. It was the dental version of "this hurts me more than it hurts you," except it absolutely hurt you more. The silver lining. You probably forgot about your toothache once your entire face went numb. Number 13. Mercury for syphilis. Let's talk about mercury, the shiny, silvery stuff in thermometers that your science teacher warned you never to touch. Well, centuries ago, doctors were rubbing it all over people. Why? Because syphilis was running rampant, and mercury was one of the few things that seemed to do something about it. Specifically, it killed bacteria, and also, eventually, you. Patients would inhale mercury vapors, slather it on their skin, or even get mercury injections. Side effects included drooling, tooth loss, insanity, and death. But for a brief, shining moment, it cleared up your lesions. That's the medical equivalent of throwing a Molotov cocktail at a spider. Sure, it worked, but now your house is gone. The phrase "a night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury" wasn't poetry. It was a grim punchline. Number 14. Tobacco smoke enemas. Yes, you read that right. In 18th century Europe, doctors believed that blowing tobacco smoke up someone's rectum could revive drowning victims. They even installed special bellows kits near rivers, basically the Victorian version of an emergency defibrillator, but for your butt. The theory was that tobacco's stimulating properties could jumpstart respiration and circulation. And honestly, nicotine does raise heart rate and blood pressure. But let's not pretend this wasn't weird. Someone's actual job was to paddle a canoe with a smoke-blowing tube and hope nobody farted mid-procedure. Eventually, medical professionals realized this was shocker ineffective and possibly traumatic. Still, for a while, the hottest new medical trend was literally blow smoke up your ass. Number 15. Leeching but make it chic. Let's wrap with a classic: leeches. These little blood-sucking blobs were the superstars of ancient and medieval medicine. If you were sick, imbalanced, or just inconveniently alive, the answer was always more leeches. Headache leech, fever leech, vague Victorian melancholy. Probably needs more leech. Now, leech therapy wasn't totally random. They remove blood, which can lower pressure or reduce clotting. In fact, modern medicine still uses them in microsurgery to restore circulation to damaged tissue, like after reattaching a finger. So the next time you complain about healthcare, just remember, someone once cured their sadness by letting a tube-shaped sea booger drink their blood in a candlelit room. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.